Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel if you're returning. If you're new here, my name is Tori and I normally do my plan with me's real time, but this was just one of those days where I had gotten back in town after a weekend trip and was pretty exhausted, but wanted to also get some stuff in my planner for the week ahead so that I didn't feel so far behind. So that is what I am doing here, and I am actually planning for the week of March the 18th through the 24th, and I'm going to be using these stickers from Shine Sticker Studios. The washi is from their subscription kit. That they sent out last November, and then the Deco stickers are just in their shop. And so I decided that to kind of try to offset the chunk of the washi, I would split it in half and use it on the top and the bottom. Normally, if I use washi, I only put it on the top or the bottom, but I figured why not? And so I was trying to do that gracefully here. It doesn't really, it works out cutting wise, but I definitely ripped some of my paper in the hobonichi when I tried to put it down. So I also need to get a new cutter. I'm having to hold that one down. It's like an AliExpress situation and I broke it. Like the spring mechanism in it doesn't want it to, I can't keep the blade up, if that makes sense. So I'm having to hold it down with my thumb while I'm cutting. Whereas if it was working the way it's supposed to, I could just clip the blade up and go about my merry way. But it's not the case. It's fine. And so I felt like because this was sent out in the subscription at the beginning, at the end of last year, to me, it just says New Year in my brain, because that's when everybody was starting new planners and they themed that around, they themed the kit around that kind of feeling of getting a new planner, setting up new goals for the year, that kind of thing. And so it just felt like, yeah, there's where I tear the paper. It just felt like I was getting further out of when I needed or when I could use this because, like I said, to me, it feels like a New Year type of theme, even though it's not really. You can use this at any time in your planner. I don't know. I'm just trying to explain how my brain is working with this and why I chose this to use this week. And so I was trying to just use up stuff that I've had for a while and haven't actively put anywhere. And that's also what influenced me to use this. And this is their premium matte sticker paper. So that's why it ripped. It's not the most forgiving when you put it on the Tomoe River paper. I have the Deco stickers with this that they're in the matte vinyl from the Shine Sticker Studio, and they're a lot more forgiving because it is vinyl. It's not just sticker paper. It is a thicker vinyl sticker that does hold up if you want to peel it off multiple times, if you want to peel it off after it's been on the page for a while. It doesn't give me any problems, and I usually try to get their premium, I usually try to get their removable vinyl if I'm going to be using it for deco purposes and not functional, because if you use the vinyl, you need a ballpoint for functional purposes, if you're going to write on it. So I end up using the trimmings here in my rings planner layout, and any leftovers, I usually just transfer them into my rings for the week so that it provides a sense of consistency. But honestly, I think I might change that for next week just to get a little extra dopamine into my system. And so normally how I start my weeklies off is I use the sidebar for tracking highlights and habits. And I've recently added in a list for the sidebar of like tasks that don't have a due date per se, of just things that, hey, it would be cool if you could get these done this week. They're usually tasks that are a part of my monthly and quarterly habit trackers and my rings, because I reference those and then try to make it a priority to put those in my weekly lists. But I don't always get the weekly list done, and that's cool too, because I don't know. I don't have enough energy to criticize myself on that, I guess. I don't know. But so I put this goals sticker down, and then I think I put that I wanted to clean the dishwasher, clean my fridge, scan paperwork, scan books with Book Buddy, and one more. Can't remember. Maybe it was water plants? Yeah. So I water plants and then like clean the dishwasher and the fridge are, I think, monthly actions that I wanted to try to get better at. And I did clean my fridge, and I have yet to water my plants because I am a terrible plant person. Like, I can kill a cactus with little to minimal effort. And I think it's honestly because I either water them too much and I become like a helicopter plant mom, or I completely ignore them and they die from neglect. There is no in between for me. So the two plants I have are a pothos that sits in my front room that gets, decent sunlight. And then I have this plant that has, I think it was planted by my husband's grandmother when she was actively living in the house that we lived in now. Like, it's been there for a very long time. And so the pressure's on to keep that one alive. So that's why I want to water the plants, obviously. And then scan papers is me trying to tell myself that it's on that week too. I need to take my basket of all the paperwork that I save up because I want to scan it and save it digitally. I need to actually scan said paperwork, right? Like, I shred a lot of our paperwork that you would want a record of, because I am kind of paranoid sometimes. Like, what if it comes with the anxiety disorder. But sometimes my brain will be like, what if the power company says you didn't pay your bill? And then you need to prove it. Well, I will scan my power bill, my very paper power bill. And it's really just, they send it to us in the mail for our record keeping if we want it. And so I'll scan it. All of this to say, I have probably a year's worth of like paperwork that I just need to scan and put on my external hard drive that I just don't be scanning. And I stack it in that basket on another desk in our home and just forget about it. And the basket's getting pretty full. So I need to do that. And I keep putting it off because I put it off for so long. It's become insurmountable. And now I have to live with the consequences of my own actions. So that's wonderful. And then scan books with BB means scan books with Book Buddy. It is a book scanning app to track your own book collection. And I purchased it for my smartphone just to be able to use my phone to do it. There are a lot of different softwares out there and stuff like that you can use to scan your own books. And another symptom of the anxiety disorder is that I'm not one to research a lot of things. I will just make the decision because I would rather make a decision and live with it than struggle through decision paralysis and decision making. Like, I don't know. It makes a lot of sense to research these kinds of things, but I definitely didn't do that. I just bought one that looked great. And it's not as user-friendly as I would like for it to be. I've definitely seen better softwares out there, but it's the one that I purchased, so we're going to use it. And I don't do a lot of scanning just because it's time consuming and I usually want to spend my time doing something else. And then the 3 habits that I track on the sidebar here are grooming, daily tidy, medicine and vitamins. Grooming because I have depression and anxiety, and to be very frank, sometimes I don't brush my hair out all the way. Sometimes I don't get to floss all the way. Like, sometimes it's just a win to get out of bed, okay? So that is why I track that, to kind of just check in with myself mentally, see where I'm at and what I'm taking care of. So that is why I track that. Daily tidy is one of those things that, I guess I'll get on the soapbox for a minute, but daily tidy is not like a habit that I track to feel like I'm a good person, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like when we grow up, a lot of times cleaning is a punishment for something, right? So it's either a punishment or it's a prerequisite before we have to do something else. So like, I want to go out with my friends. Well, did you clean your room? Is your room clean? That was something that was practiced a lot in my own childhood, and I've seen it with a lot of other people. And if you hadn't cleaned your room, you couldn't go. And so there's this sense of like, I don't know, like messiness is, I feel like in our society, correlated with morality in a weird way. Like if somebody's messy, they're not a good person. And I don't agree with that. I think people have different brains that process things differently, and just because there's a mess doesn't necessarily reflect on their character. So all of this to say, I track a tidy habit every day because with my anxiety, I feel out of control a lot of times, and by cleaning up my house a little bit at a time every day, it gives me a sense of control over something that I can see a direct result with. And so it makes me feel better. And I try to do it every day so that I get that little hit of dopamine. And I've also done something that feels productive and it helps other people. But I don't feel bad if I don't get it done, if that makes sense. So that's my long-winded explanation on that, because I just feel like sometimes people, they're like, oh, I did this and I did this. And there's a lot of amending what's really going on for a public platform, right? Like you don't post the bad photos on your Instagram. You don't post the oopsies on your YouTube channel. But sometimes I feel like it's a little bit more detailed than, hey, I just cleaned my house and I'm better than you, like it's not that. So, yeah. And I'm putting down the deco stickers and made like a shelf over Friday through Sunday for the weekend. And the weekend sticker came with the subscription kit. But again, like I said, the deco with like the character whose name is Luna and the shelves, they came separately. The third habit that I track is medicine and vitamins. I try to make sure that I'm taking my medicine every night, and then I've added some elderberry vitamins because I was ill with some kind of 18th century plague last month, and I do not want that to happen again. So I'm trying to boost my immune system by eating some chewable vitamins. And I'm not normally a vitamin person, but I have sunk that low, apparently. I don't know. Not that vitamins are like a place you sink to. I don't know. I'm just rambling. And so I use my hobonichi for memory planning. So this is just for me to be able to look back on later in the year or next year or whatever. So I usually just put the same kind of work schedule every week, but something inevitably ends up happening to where my work hours that I draw with my arrows here, they're never accurate. It's usually because like I'll forget I have a weekend program, or I take an hour early here, or I take an hour early there. Like it's just never like it's never fully accurate here. And so it's funny to me how that plays out. But Monday I work as a librarian, so Monday is our regular toddler and baby program. We have 2 a week, Monday and Tuesday, and they're essentially the same program, except for Mondays is extended for more interactive play with parents and toddlers together. Instead of so for Tuesday, we would do the same thing, but we wouldn't bring out more things for them to play with. We'd just kind of let them do what they want. And, I don't have kids, so I don't feel like I have any opinion on this. It's just what I notice in the library when I'm paying attention to our patrons. But if there's a group of toddlers and little kids in the play area, the parents naturally congregate with the parents and the kids naturally congregate with the kids, right? Like that is natural. But we want to kind of inspire some parent-kid interaction. So oftentimes, parents are overstimulated and overwhelmed, and they just want to check out and, be on their phone, or they're just not, they want a break, right? So I try to really encourage or model model play and interactions for the parents on the Monday program, and help kids with their vocabulary, because one of the biggest things you can do for any child 0 to 5 is just talk to them incessantly. That sounds very annoying, but you're helping build their vocabulary so much. And it's not necessarily, you don't have to talk to them like they're a baby in the baby voice. Just literally, if you take them to the supermarket, point things out to them. Talk about colors, talk about shapes. The more you talk to them, the more they're soaking up that vocabulary. And so I just try to model that with the kids who come to that program, and just show how play doesn't have to be a task for parents who are tired. So, yeah, that's that. And then I usually have an hour circulation shift on Mondays and Tuesdays. That's going to go up here in a couple weeks, because one of our staff members is going to be away from the library for a while, and then so that'll go to 2 hours, and I'll have to remember that. But then Monday nights I have graphic novel squad, and I talked about this recently that it was just a program I had just started, and it's going actually really well. They love to bring the graphic novels that they're interested in talking about to the program. We talk about them, and then what I usually do is I do a read aloud of a section of a graphic novel, because these are middle graders. I don't know. It's they've gotten out of the habit of having a book read to them. So when you start reading aloud to them, they're looking at me like, what is she doing? And I'm like, hold on, it'll be cool. And so it's a little bit of that attitude of I'm too cool for this. But then basically what I do is I just act really goofy to where they have to laugh at me, and then they forget about trying to act cool around their friends, if that makes any sense. So this past Monday, we did Isaac Newton and the Laws of Motion, but I used a really, really obnoxious, really loud accent every time Isaac Newton spoke, and they couldn't hold it. They were laughing at me a lot, and that was the goal. So they thought it was funny, and then they were so hype. We made catapults because we talked about forces of motion, and it's like I think they're called action graphics. I'll put a picture of the graphic novel that we read a chapter of on the screen here, but it's like they're nonfiction books, but they're graphic novel style, so they're higher level interest. So yeah, did that, and then we have the second story time on Tuesdays, another circulation shift, and then we have teen book club. My teen attendance isn't the greatest right now, but it is testing time, and I am competing with a whole host of extracurricular responsibilities and other things. So it's the nature of the game, and I'm expecting attendance to increase over the summer because they won't have anything to do, and their parents will want to, drop them off somewhere where they can not deal with them. So we have that, and then Wednesday, I have a story time at a daycare. We did that. It was kind of meh because my speaker died in the middle of the story time today, but that's okay. Not today. Yesterday. Today's Thursday. But my speaker died in that story time, so that was kind of awkward, but you got to roll with the punches like anything else. And honestly, it's kind of ironic because you would think you want a speaker to be really loud so that everybody can hear. But then they're like 2 to 4 year olds, and they just scream over the speaker, right? So when you don't have a speaker, the unexpected happens, and they get quieter because they're trying to listen to what the song is. And I'm like, this is weird Jedi mind trick energy, and half of me doesn't hate it. But also the other half is like, why is the music so low? I can't stand this. So it's an internal battle there. And then we had a homeschool science class. That is just an extra kind of, the best way I can explain it would be like if you've ever read a book where it's like an old school, one room schoolhouse situation where the teacher's breaking people up in their age groups to have them do independent work while she focuses on one group. That's essentially what I'm doing in that program. We have a story that we read aloud at the beginning of every class, and then we break out into an activity, and I usually set the older kids up with their activity first and then go guide the littles through it, because I had ages 2 through 12 at that program the other day. So it was very much, let me just say, so we were talking about, what were we talking about? States of matter. So a solid, liquid, gas. A 2-year-old has no concept of that. So like trying to just like pivot to each age was funny. But so this is pretty much my week. I had a meeting today. I canceled that doctor's appointment, and I have a program on Saturday for the eclipse that's coming up. So if you listen to me ramble this long, I thank you so much for spending some time with me, and I hope you got your plans done if you planned with me. And I'm just writing in my bills here. But I hope you'll consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed, and you'll hopefully be willing to give this video a thumbs up to help my channel grow. And again, I appreciate you so much for being here, and I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.